Welcome to Gurukul Lectures. In the ongoing series of leadership and development, today we will be talking on nature and types of groups. Now, what is the nature of group? The word group can be explained as two or more people work or interact together for the same purpose. And when a group of people work together rather than individuals, the aim of the organization can be simply achieved. However, working together is a multifaceted task. A small collection of people who interact with each other, usually face to face, over time in order to reach the goals. Now, a group is a collection of individuals who interact with each other such that one person's actions have an impact on the others, and in other words, a group is defined as two or more individuals interacting and interdependent who have come together to achieve the particular objectives. Now, according to R. M. Williams, a social group is a given aggregate of the people playing interrelated roles and recognized by themselves or others as a unit of interaction. Here it can be said that a group is an aggregate of some people and the role of the group members are interrelated and the group is concerned as one unit. There is a very important definition given by R. M. McLever in the year 1953. According to this definition, by group we mean any collection of the social beings who enter into distinctive social relationships with one another. And it is very clear that there must be social relationship between the individual members of a group. According to David, a social psychological group is an organized system of two or more individuals who are interrelated so that the system performs some functions and has a standard set of the role relationship among its members and has a set of norms that regulate the function of the group and each of its members. Now, according to Krech, Krekvik and the Belkrek in the year 1962, they defined the psychological group as two or more people who meet the following conditions, and these conditions are very important. Number one, the relations among the members are interdependent. Each member's behavior influences the behavior of each of the others. And the second condition is the members share on the ideology, a set of beliefs, values, and the norms which regulate their mutual conduct. According to Pauls, a group consists of two or more interacting persons who share the common goals, have a very stable relationship, are somehow interdependent and perceive that they are in fact a part of the group. Here we can say that the individuals interact with one another either directly or indirectly, and besides this the group members are interdependent in some way or the other. What happens to one must affect what happens to the other. So, according to all these definitions which we have taken care of as of now, there are some common important points which have been derived from these definitions. Number one is that a group consists of two or more people, they interact with one another. Number two, they have the common goals. Number three, they have a stable relationship, and somehow and somewhere they are interdependent, interrelated, and they perceive that they are a part of the group. So, we can say that this kind of an interdependence, this kind of common sharing is all what is called as a group. Not only this, their relationship must be relatively stable. The members of the group involved to attain the goals and their interaction will be structured form so that each group member performs the same or more or less similar functions each time they meet. And finally, it can be said that the individuals involved in a group must recognize that they are a part of a group. Now, the term group has a variety of connotations. and in general, we use the term group while keeping three primary aspects in mind. Let us have a look on this. Number one, a situation in which a group of people is seated or working together. The most important factor in the physical proximity of a group of individuals who are there at this same moment, whether for a shared purpose or not. Second, where individuals are categorized as the members of a group and people may appear to have no link with one another, but they share some features and we identify them as a group. And when the people are the members of a group, this group has a defined structure and its members feel a sense of belonging to the organization. Now let us have a look on what the group and children have to say about it. The social development of a kid occurs over time as a youngster becomes older. Children execute a variety of activities in order to meet their bodily requirements. They show some evidence of responding to those who they see as meeting their wants. Then the infants begin to recognize the things and the people in their environment. The children plays and other activity patterns vary dramatically as they become older. The frame of mind, the things which they see, the way they perceive the things, they become different. The sentiments of I and mine followed by you and yours emerge. Children learn to share the things, express their rights, cooperate and so on throughout the initial stage of their socialization. Initially, they are a part of the small group of youngsters that are all close in age. However, disparities may exist depending on how the groupings are organized. By direct coaching, instruction, imitation, spontaneous reaction, repeated experience, and so on, they are continuously digesting a variety of things and they progressively develop their feelings, opinions, interest, habits, and wants as they live in a community. In this sense, interaction and communication are very crucial aspects. To better understand the concept of the group, consider all the groups to which you belong to, such as your neighborhood buddies, your college friends, music, dance groups, and so on. People join the organizations for a variety of reasons, including satisfaction of essential psychological and social needs, such as getting affection and attention in order to have a sense of belonging. Number 2, achieving the aim in a very smooth and a simple manner. Working with others improves a person's ability to complete a task compared to doing it alone. Obtaining the knowledge and information on a variety of topics that are readily available in one location. Not only this, obtaining security and safety is a very important reason for joining a group. Now, meaning of a group in psychology. Group is defined in psychology as the study of the organization and their behavior. Psychology is the study of the group and the individual control within a group environment. Social, organizational, and the group psychology are all strong fields of research that examine a variety of variables that influence the group behavior and the choices. Individuality is frequently surrendered for the greater good of the group, depending on the group's influence. The goal of the social psychology is to figure out why this happens in a group and what impact it has on the society. So now let us have a look on important features of a group. Number one or more individual, they come together and influence each other. Individual members of a group engage in social interaction and form the bonds. Number three, among the group members, there are certain shared motives, desires, interest, emotions, and so on. And there's a verbal and non-verbal communication among the group members. So these are very, very highlighting features of the concept called a group. We cannot have a group with our own self. So you need to have at least 2 or more people together for a common purpose, for a shared objective, for the social interactions, and people have different motives to join the group. Some people have a desire to fulfill their emotional need. Some people have a desire to fulfill their interest, their desires, and so on. And sometimes there's a verbal communication, and sometimes there's a non-verbal communication of the group members. The group members are stimulated by each other as they have a common target, attention, group, goal, and the end. They share a sense of loyalty and engage in comparative pursuits. And in the group, there's a sense of unity. The members of the group treat one another with respect, and the spirit of camaraderie develops among them. Not only this, the group has a control over the members' action. Some conventions, standards, and the process are accepted by everybody. But if an exception occurs, the offending member will be excluded from the group. As we are talking about formation of groups, group cohesiveness, group unity, so we have to see all the features relating to a group, and that is why the convention, standards, and the process are accepted by everybody who is a part of that group. If people doesn't like any of these aspects, or if they feel offended, so the offending member will be excluded from that particular group. Now, the characteristics of a group. Assume you belong to a group in which you may notice certain characteristics that you might accept or you might reject. And it might be excellent or terrible. It might be healthy or unhealthy. It may be favorable or unfavorable, yet there are some distinguishing traits or the group characteristics. Like number one, a sense of belonging. There's a sense of belonging among the group members. The members of the group, they assist one another in carrying out their responsibilities. They work together to combat the nefarious forces, and the people do not belong to a group are treated as outsiders. They are always attempting to make the organization self-sufficient. The second important characteristic of a group is a shared interest. Everyone in the group shares a shared interest. There is a sense of togetherness among the members since their interests are comparable. The group consists of the people who are linked to one another in such a way that they should be considered as if they are one person. A sense of belonging. Everybody needs a sense of belonging. Each member of the group treats the others as if they are not their own, and a sense of camaraderie develops among the members related to one another. It is true that the group members are related to one another. The members of the group communicate with each other in a reciprocal manner. The foundations of a group exist are social ties. Then we have a very important feature which is called as the group features who have an impact. Every group has some social traits that distinguishes it from the comparable and dissimilar groupings. These qualities have an impact on the group members, and although the nature may change for each individual, the group has an impact on all the members. And there are certain values which are shared by the members and are historically honored and passed down to the next generation. And of course, they are exhibited in the members' mutual actions. The members of a social group are tied together by these important shared ideals. Then the important feature for the group, we call it as a group control. Each group has some conventions. They have certain rules, procedures that are acceptable to all the members. And in reality, the group life is difficult to survive without some set of rules. It might be argued that the reason for the uniformity of behavior in group life is that the group control the individual activities. Then we have an important feature called obligation. In a group setting, everyone has complementary responsibilities to one another. Members of a group ties are always reinforced by their mutual duty and the shared societal values. Then we have exceptions. In addition to the mutual duty, the members of the group anticipate love, compassion, empathy, cooperation, and other qualities from one another. The group members are kept together if agreed expectations are met. An organization can only continue to exist if its constituent members fulfill their responsibilities by gratifying their own particular desires. The groups are the social organization's basic units, and as a result, the integration or disintegration of the social organization is influenced by the integration or disintegration of the groups. Now let me expand this concept. In a group, social relationships are extremely essential. The earliest and the most important social relationship is that which exists between the family members. As a result, family might be considered a significant social group. You engage with other family members, and you and others have a reciprocal connection. You definitely have a we sense that it is our family. It is we, it is not I, about where you belong. There are certain ties between the family members, such as husband-wife, father and son, brother and sister, and so on, and they all work together for the family best interest in a spiritual and the spirit of mutual cooperation. Each family member treats the others as if they were his own, and despite their differences of opinion, they share certain similar ideals and beliefs. The group function as a well-knit entity, mostly owing to the members' shared interest. So we can remark, for example, the school is a social group, and the following are the key features of a school as a whole. All of the students have the same aim. Both the pupils and the instructors are enthusiastic about achieving a common objective, that is education. One is imparting and the other is receiving, but the common objective is education. The structure of the school is completely, meticulously well organized. School provides fantastic chances for the groups to meet their objectives. The group formation is very, very important and the shared objectives are also very important, and it is to be seen that the group objectives are met by the people who are a part of that group. Now let me cover the foundations of the group formation and the related theories to it. The following factors have a role in a group formation: the way in which the groups develop, the way in which the groups have the interactions, and the group functions in the various scenarios. So these are the process of group formation, for which the following are the important aspects: forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. They are the important 5 phases of the growth of the group. So let us have a look on these one by one. Number 1 is forming. Forming is a stage in which there is some ambiguity, there is some confusion. Forming is a phase during which the members get to know one another and express their aspirations for the organization. So this is the first stage of the group formation, and when the members begin to form the bonds with one another and understand what is expected out of them. The finest example here is when you join a particular new college, or when you join a new school, when you join your new employment opportunities which you have. So the moment you enter any of the new paradigms, any of the new frontiers, any of the new domain, this is the forming stage, which is very important because you don't know anybody in that organization. So there's a lot of confusion which is happening around, there's so much of ambiguity which is happening around. So forming is a phase in which you have a chance to know the members, each other nicely, you try to express each other, and you get to know whether this particular group is for you or not. If not, you move to another group. So you start sharing your aspects, your bondings, you try and understand each other, especially you try and understand what is expected out of that. So the second stage after the first stage, which we have talked about in detail, that is the forming, the next is your storming. Now this particular stage, storming, is a stage in which most dispute and conflict may be seen. Members mostly express their concerns and there is some criticism at this point. There are interpersonal disputes developed at this level. So the differences of the opinion regarding the group aim, at this point it's very critical to sort out any kind of a disagreement or any kind of unset clear goals, because if they are not sorted at this time, you will have a problem in group bonding, etc., and probably you have the chances of your group being dissolved. Now moving on to the third phase, we have talked about formation stage, that is formation stage of the group in which there is a lot of ambiguity and confusion. Then we talked about the storming stage in which the level of criticism is very, very high, and there are 3 more steps which is expected out of each member, which we will discuss as and when we move on. So the group formation theory, spontaneous, etc., they are very, very important to be considered at each point, because it is the way the groups are developed. So forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning are the 5 critical important phases of the group growth and formation.